What's up, everybody? Welcome. I hope you guys are excited. Hello. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me. Let me get my screen readjusted on my side and we will get started because I finally made a commercial break. It's not perfect. There are a few mistakes, but that's okay. We have a commercial break, so I don't have to lollygag and stall and do a lot of stalling. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back. I know a lot of you are very upset with me after my last video, so I'm happy to see some of you are here. I didn't run all of you away. So welcome back. Welcome to our People of the Lie review series. We are going to continue on, guys. This has been a really good series so far, so I'm excited to continue the show on with you. Tonight, we are actually still in chapter 2. We are in chapter 2 still on page 69. And in the last live stream, I said that I was going to do evil and sin and the narcissism chapter. But once again, this one chapter in the chapter stands out so much that I'm isolating it, and we'll do the narcissism chapter on its own next time. And that should close out chapter 2. Okay. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. As always, same disclaimers as last time. If this is your first live stream, please be forewarned. We are getting ready to deal with evil and spirituality and the religious side of things. So if you are atheistic, this may not be your cup of tea. However, you're more than invited to stay and just keep an open mind and see what maybe you figure out or what ahas you might have along the way. Secondarily, this content has the potential to be very psychologically triggering. So for that reason, if you're not in a very good place mentally or in a very healthy mental state, you may not want to watch this series yet. You may not want to watch this series until you have an opportunity to talk it through with a therapist of some kind. We do have an option here available to my viewers of the channel. You do get 10% off of your membership to BetterHelp, access to a therapist that is hand selected for you, and you can meet them anytime and essentially any place because the whole interaction is virtual, never in person. So check that out. If this starts to get really rough for you and starts to unearth old memories and you need to work those out, you do have this as an option. It's especially good if you don't have health insurance because you don't need health insurance to use it. Okay. So now that we have our resources, we know who to call for help. Let's jump into our book review, guys. If you're new, we are reviewing the book People of the Lie, The Hope for Healing Human Evil by M. Scott Peck, MD. Okay. And so far we've done chapter 1 and most of chapter 2. We're trying to finish chapter 2 and we're almost there. Okay. So let's get into the content for episode 3. And episode 3 is all about self-reflection and introspection and how very important that is in warding off evil, but also being able to recognize evil people. Because as we've discussed many times on this channel before, this is something that they lack to a morbid degree. If they had the ability, they being narcissists, to reflect and look inward, they wouldn't do half of the things that they do. So we're going to get way deep into this evening, you guys, okay? Welcome to the Mirror Mirror episode. Let's go. So starting right out the gate on page 69, it says, "It is not their sins per se that characterize evil people. Rather, it is the subtlety and persistence and consistency of their sins." A couple years ago, I made a video called "Narcissists Are Painfully Consistent." And this is exactly what I meant. And what he means, the author in the book, is, first of all, he says later on in the chapter, and we're going to talk about this, that everybody has a level of sin. that needs to be acknowledged, needs to be addressed, and needs to be dealt with. And the more we deal with ourselves and our sins, the better people we become. We may never reach perfection, but we become the best version of ourselves that we can be because we are willing to look within and pluck our weeds. Evil people, on the other hand, or narcissists, as we speak about often on this channel, completely either override that ability or they don't have it at all. And it causes a lot of problems, not only in their life, but in everybody else's life as well. Okay. So what he's saying here is evil people are characterized by how subtle their crimes, because they are crimes, are, how persistent they are, and consistent their sins are. So this gets into kind of how I've always said they're very predictable people, and they are very predictable because of this reason. They're incredibly persistent. We've talked about that before, how you will often get worn out by them, not because they necessarily bested you, but because they have an inexhaustible demonic resource to pull from. You don't. So you wear out because you're human, but they're very persistent and ruthless because they lack that feeling of, okay, I'm doing too much, right? And on top of that, it's the consistency. So reflect back on something you've done in the past that you're not proud of, that you feel like you did the wrong thing, you made the wrong choice, you made somebody feel bad, you hurt somebody, right? The fact that you feel bad about it is a great thing, because hopefully that means you never did that to somebody again, or you never did that thing again. So we will all occasionally make choices and decisions that are not good, or not the best choices or decisions, that sometimes result in harm to another person. And we don't mean to. Hopefully you don't mean to. I'm speaking to those people who don't mean to. But once you realize what you've done, you're so horrified by it that not only do you apologize for it, but you also never do it again. Okay? And that is the point. And that's what makes you not evil. So those of you who might struggle with rehearsing and rehashing the things that you've done wrong in the past, this would be your opportunity to recognize that the fact that you see it at all makes you a good person, and you can let it go now. Just don't do it again. You see? So you made that mistake. You're not evil because of the mistake. You're evil if you continue to do it. If you continue to make the same mistake. Do you hear my air quotes? If you continue to hurt the same person over and over again in the same way. And if you kind of hide it a little bit and try to mask it, covert, that's what separates evil people from people who are not evil. Because often when you confront evil people, the first thing they'll say to you is nobody's perfect. And that is a true statement. However, the difference between evil people and people who aren't is that people who are not turn away from evil. They try to avoid it altogether. But if they happen to find themselves in an evil situation and it just happens, they turn away from it and they never do it again because they didn't like it. They didn't like the outcome. They didn't like how it made someone else feel, and they didn't like how it made them feel. So they never did it again. That's the difference. Remorse would be a good term to use here. Remorseful. Okay? So don't beat yourself up if you no longer do the thing that made you feel so bad in the first place. You did it, you recognize it, hopefully you've apologized for it, and now you are free to release that and move on, okay? So let's move on in our content. Here's a theme. We've been talking about this all year, baby. And here it is, right here in our book for us. Page 69. Most criminals are free. I told you that. It says their crimes are so subtle and covert that they cannot clearly be designated as crimes. What was it? Last live stream, second to the last, I said that they're not breaking any legal codes. So therefore, they can't be held accountable in terms of the legal system because they're not breaking any formal legal codes yet. God, I hope somebody takes this up and starts trying to make this part of the legal code. Because until that happens, they're going to continue to violate and break the law because it's not against the law. So therefore, it's not damaging to their reputation in their mind. It absolutely is damaging to their reputation, but in their mind, because they're not breaking the law like those criminals over there, they're better than those people. Do you understand? Now, if they ever made it law, they would either stop altogether or find a different way to get around the law. But that's how important appearing like a non-criminal is to these people. And we're going to get into that. Okay. So on page 70, he was reflecting on how he's worked with a lot of criminals throughout the course of his career, here and there. And he was saying how the criminals who were willing to talk to him considered themselves the honest criminals. And the honest criminals would tell him that the truly evil always reside outside of jail. And that I actually believe to be true. Yes, a lot of evil people get caught, charged, and put away. And that's great when that happens. But the truly evil are actually walking around free among us. This is why stereotyping is kind of a bad thing to do. Yes, you need to have a general idea about people. But when you stereotype and you tell yourself things like, well, criminals look like that. That's what a criminal looks like. I'm scared of that person because that person looks like a criminal. Your criminal might be laying in bed next to you every night. Your criminal might be watching your kids at daycare when you drop them off back before, the global health crisis shut everything down, pretending, going back 6 months when you would drop your kids off to daycare, the criminal could be the owner of the daycare. The criminal could be the pastor. Do you see? So be very careful with your stereotypes, because from one criminal to this doctor, he said, the truly evil always reside outside of jail. And that's what I've been saying. Most of the criminals are free. The true criminals are free. Free, free indeed. Now, let's get on into something that's very, very important, okay? And I think this is great that he included this in the book, because it's very easy to read a book like this and go, yeah, I knew it. They're all evil, not me, right? So he made it a point to tell us and explain to us that none of us are perfect, which is true. It's cliche, but it is true. And that we all have things that we need to be working on and improving in our lives. So none of us, we all fall short of the glory of God. Okay? Now, let's read this quote. It says, we routinely fail to do the very best of which we are capable. And with each failure, we commit a crime of sorts against God, our neighbors, or ourselves, if not, frankly, against the law. Okay? Because God is perfect. So God has extremely high standards for us. And on top of that, God knows what you're capable of. So pretend that you know how to build cars. Let's just pretend you know how to build a car from start to finish. Just pretend. And you build a car to perform at a certain level under all circumstances, right? You make sure every detail is in place. It has everything it needs because you designed it to perform that way. So just to make it easy, let's say you design this car to go 200 miles per hour because that's how fast you want that car to go. But this car, for whatever reason, will only do 60. So you as the designer are looking at the car like, what is your problem? You can go 200. And the car is like, no, I can't. I can only do 60. And the designer's like, no, you're designed to go 200 miles per hour. You could at least do 150 for me. You could at least break 100. And the car's like, no, 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 no. I can only do 60 miles per hour. So this is where, as he states, we commit a crime against God because God has designed us to be able to do certain things. So when we fall short for reasons like laziness, sorriness, don't care, inconsiderate, whatever, you're committing a crime against God. When you're not being your best and living to your fullest potential, your highest potential, when you're not making good on the gifts that you've been given, on the blessings that you do have, you may not have a perfect life right now. Everything may not be perfectly in place how you would like it to be, but you should be capitalizing on what you do have. On that 200 miles per hour that you were designed to drive, you should be capitalizing on that. And therein lies the disappointment with God when you won't even use what you have. Do you understand? And we could take that down to basics, like those of us who are sighted or have the ability to see with our eyes. We better be using those eyes for good as often as possible. You see what I mean? For perfect example, allegedly, there was a meteor shower last night. Now, I did see one, and I'm so excited. I saw one, you guys, just one. And it was the most amazing thing I think I've ever seen. But there was supposed to be a shower, and I did not see a meteor shower, and I was out there on time. Anyway, my point is, when I was sitting out there, trying to see this shower, I was thinking to myself, there are so many people who don't even have the ability to do this. Just sit outside on a nice warm summer evening and just look up at the stars, trying to spot a meteor. And I thought about how many people probably heard about the meteor shower and were like, who cares? So what? So what? Meteor, who cares? Right? Not because they had to go to bed, not because they were working, not because they were busy doing something else, just, who cares? So what I mean by that is, here's a probably relatively once in a lifetime opportunity. I know they come around often, but you get my point. It's rare. You don't see meteors every night. And you have 20/20 vision, fully functioning eyes, and you won't even go use them to look at something amazing. That's what I mean about not using even the basic stuff. Those of you who have the ability to hear, you can hear well or you can hear at all. Do you use your ears to listen to beautiful music? Do you use your ears to listen to other people? Do you use them for good? Do you see what I'm saying? So whatever you do have that's working and functional, you better put it to use before God snatches it from you. That's all I'm saying. I'm so glad I put my little note in here. So I made a note to myself to read this little paragraph on page 70 to 71 because it is so important, you guys. Okay. So, excuse me, this is right up under the quote that's on the screen. It says, of course, there are crimes of greater and lesser magnitude. It is a mistake, however, to think of sin or evil as a matter of degree. It may seem less odious to cheat the rich than the poor, but it is still cheating. There are differences before the law between defrauding a business, claiming a false deduction on your income tax, using a crib sheet in an examination, telling your wife that you have to work late when you are unfaithful, or telling your husband or yourself that you didn't have time to pick up his clothes at the cleaner when you spent an hour on the phone with your neighbor. Surely one is more excusable than the other, and perhaps all the more so under certain circumstances. But the fact remains that they are all lies and betrayals. If you are sufficiently scrupulous not to have done any such thing recently, then ask whether there is any way in which you have lied to yourself, or have kidded yourself, or have been less than you could be, which is a self-betrayal. Be perfectly honest with yourself, and you will realize that you sin. If you do not realize it, then you are not perfectly honest with yourself, which is itself a sin. It is inescapable. We are all sinners. Okay. And we touched on this in in episode 2 of this series, how we lie to ourselves and how that contributes to a lot of problems in our lives. And the example that I used was the example of getting gas for the next day. The night before, I knew I needed gas. So I decided to tell myself a lie at first that I always tell myself, which is, oh, well, I'll just get up 15 minutes earlier. Girl, who are you lying to? Who are you lying to? You're going to get up 15 minutes earlier? You are? Okay. Has that ever worked for you? Have you ever actually pulled that off? And the answer to the question is no. So I said to myself, instead of lying to ourselves, why don't you go ahead and get gas tonight? And that's what I did. Long story short, I hit snooze multiple times the next morning and ended up getting to where I was going by the skin of my teeth. Had I waited to go get gas, I would have been late. So that's just a minor example, but it is an example that you can use as a template. In what way do I lie to myself? What is the truth? And then how can I work with that truth? So me working with the truth, which is, girl, you know you're not getting out of that bed, was, okay, well, then let me go ahead and go tonight. And that's what I did. And I had gas and I got there on time. Now look at that. Just by telling myself the truth. So if you want a homework assignment, try to think of 1 or 2 things that you're not honest with yourself about, and then what you can do to work with the actual truth of the situation. It's very powerful. You'll start to see really amazing changes in your life, I think. Okay. Hi, everybody in the chat. Welcome. How you guys doing? I'm glad you're here. All right. Oh, this is one of my favorite quotes of the whole book. I'm telling you, PTE 1983. It says, their destructiveness is remarkably consistent. And it really is. It's amazing to watch how number one, consistent they are, and how consistent they are in their destructiveness. My college ex, the one I told you guys about in that video, what do I look for in a man? I used to say that to him all the time. I would say, you are the most consistent person that I know. And he would actually look at me and go, thank you. I'm like, oh my God. But he was like, once I saw once the patterns run twice, that's all it takes for me to pick up on it. Because you can't really pick up on a pattern when it's happening for the first time, because then it's not a pattern. I think for something to be a pattern, it has to have more than one, right? I don't know. You get my point. So by the time it happens the second time, I'm like, okay, I see. So then I actually have the ability to predict what you're going to do. And I do it with almost 100% accuracy. Almost 100%. I know when you're going to have a temper tantrum. I know when you're going to pout. I know when you're going to rage out. I know when you're going to storm out of the room and put me on a silent treatment. I know all of those things. Because you're so predictable and consistent. And the predictability comes from the consistency. So this is what, in my opinion, makes narcissists and not psychopaths. Because it's my opinion that psychopaths are in control of their mind. They know it. They 100% know what they're doing. They're sick. They're very demented people. They're psychopaths. Whereas the narcissist is, as we've described in the past, kind of an evil idiot, which speaks to the video we just did on criminal negligence. Criminal negligence is basically saying you're an evil idiot, basically. You're so dumb that you caused harm in ways that can probably never be repaired. But it's more of an active ignorance than it is an inactive ignorance. But now I'm getting off topic. Their destructiveness is remarkably consistent. Remarkably, okay? All right, so let's keep going. So he mentions this multiple times in the book. So I decided to put it all on one slide as opposed to 5 different slides with the same message on them. But this is the theme of all of these, and really the theme of tonight's stream, which is the lack of self-reflection, which we've talked about before. I just can't remember in what video, y'all. I can't. But we've talked about this before, how they don't look within, they don't introspect, they don't reflect, they do none of those things. Every day is basically brand new to them. It's the same new day every day. Okay? So let's look at some of these. They have an unwillingness to suffer the discomfort of self-examination. They refuse to tolerate the sense of their own sinfulness. They refuse to bear the trial of being displeasing to themselves. They fail to put themselves on trial. And they cannot and will not tolerate the pain of self-reproach. Because what's worse than being disappointed with yourself? Because you live with yourself every day. You are with yourself 24/7. No one knows, well, that could be debated. What I was going to say was no one knows you better than yourself, but that's up for debate because sometimes we don't even know ourselves that well. But my point is, you are the closest with you than anyone else in this world. So for you to be disappointed with you is quite the painful feeling. It is. But if you're willing to feel that, you have the potential to become great. Because hopefully you're not just feeling it and beating yourself up about it. You're supposed to feel it and then do something about it. Like, for example, just to take a mild example, everyone's house gets messy from time to time, I would imagine. So hopefully there comes a point where you look around and go, oh man, this looks awful. My house is a mess. I've got to clean up. And then hopefully you go clean up. Same principle. Versus the person who will look around the house, see the mess, and then just step right over it. And who does that sound like that we've talked about on this channel before? Hoarders. God, my theories just get stronger by the day, man. They get stronger by the day because my initial theory was many hoarders, not all of them, but many hoarders are narcissists. And this would actually make a lot of sense as to why, because for you to clean your house, first of all, you'd have to know when it's dirty. You'd have to recognize when it actually needs to be cleaned. So that's step one. But once you recognize it, you have to be uncomfortable about it. It has to bother you to some degree. Now, some people don't mind a messy house at all. That's your business. I'm not judging you. I'm talking about the people who actually like clean houses. At some point you go, oh my God, this is disgusting. Oh my God, this is too messy. I've got to clean up. No. Nothing else is more important than me cleaning up. And then you clean up and then you feel better about it. It's the same thing. So just take that same template and apply it to other things in life. There may or may not be something in your life that makes you uncomfortable. And as opposed to you feeling the discomfort and doing something about it, you just ignore it. That's what narcissists do. But they do it to a morbid degree. They ignore all of their problems until they eventually implode. And that video, by the way, narcissists eventually implode, just joined the 100K club. Yay! Probably because it's so true. They eventually implode because just like we'll say snow on a roof, there's a lot of rooftops. I think the flat ones are at the most risk, if I'm not mistaken, that if too much snow accumulates on the roof could cave in. It's the same thing. All the things that they didn't want to clean up, all the issues they didn't want to clean up, all the problems they didn't want to clean up, all the conversations they never wanted to have, all the issues they never wanted to resolve, just stack up on the roof. until eventually the weight of them gets so heavy that it implodes the whole thing, narcissist included. This is why they implode. They refuse to deal with issues because dealing with issues is so very uncomfortable to them. But here's the thing, it's uncomfortable for everybody. What's going to take you to greatness is the ability to feel that discomfort and do it anyway. Feel uncomfortable, feel disappointed with yourself. Know that you didn't do as good a job as you could have done there, and then do a better job next time. This is how people improve and iterate over time. Like I told you in the last live stream, they are their best cheerleaders. They're their own best cheerleader and their own best critic. So you can't really hurt their feelings unless you're bringing new information. The only way you could really hurt their feelings is if you're bringing a critique that they'd never thought about before. Like, oh man, wow, you're right. Oh man, like that's the only way you could really hurt their feelings. But if they are a true critic, oh, they've examined every corner and they're actively working on fixing those areas. Okay. But this is so important. When you think about the narcissists in your life, think about how avoidant they are, how defensive they are, how they absolutely refuse to have a real, honest conversation with you. Now, we have also learned that that's because doing that is the equivalent of an exorcism, which we will get into in future reviews of this book. But when you try to confront these people with the truth, you are exorcising them. And if anyone doesn't understand what I'm saying exorcise, not exercise. EXORCISE. Exorcise with an O, which I think just off the top of my head means to call something out or to pull something out, like excise. Okay. You're exorcising those narcissistic demons like I just did on my last video. Anyway, let's move on to our next slide. How evil grows over time. So this is a topic that we have talked about before. Why has narcissism grown? Why is it continuing to get worse and worse and worse in our society? And this is why. It says, as a result of their refusal to tolerate the sense of their own sinfulness, the evil ones become uncorrectable grab bags of sin. Oh, what is the term the Bible uses for these people? Reprobates. These are going to be your reprobates. What does the term reprobate actually mean? Hey, Siri. Oh, I guess she's not studying me tonight. Okay, that's fine. Let me just pull up Google. Reprobate. I just want to know the actual definition. Reprobate definition. An unprincipled person, unprincipled. Sometimes I really hate definitions. They're so inadequate. Let me see if there's anything further. Oh, an unprincipled or depraved person, scoundrel, rogue, morally corrupt. Okay. So you can't be corrected. And this got me to thinking when I was reading this part, I was like, the ability to be corrected is so important to God. So important. It's one of God's most important things. The ability to take feedback and correction and critique. Think about it. I bring up this example all the time on YouTube, but think about some of the YouTubers you've been watching over time, including me. Now, I am not like the perfect YouTuber by any sense of the imagination. There are still things I don't know how to do that I'm trying to learn, but hopefully you have seen the growth over time. Those of you who have been around since 2016, hopefully you've seen the growth and change over time. That comes from me first and foremost, watching the videos back, sitting through the cringes and the cringe moments going, oh my God, PTE, really? Jesus, girl, get it together. And feeling that, and then going forward, not doing it again. So for example, that little commercial I showed y'all at the start, there's mistakes in there. Now I could leave it because they're minor mistakes. They really don't mess up the commercial at all, but I can do better. And because I can do better, I should do better. Do you understand? That's going back to that a couple of slides ago when we're not living up to our best. Because I know how to fix the mistakes, I need to fix them. If I didn't know how and I couldn't figure it out, even after trying, well, then that means I did my best. If I make something and I make a mistake and I try to figure out how to fix it, I research how to fix it, I ask people how to fix it, and nobody can tell me how, and I can't figure it out either, well, then that means that I did my best. But the mistakes in that commercial I can fix. I just didn't want to waste another hour fixing these little irritating errors. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to release it. I'm going to let it go. It's fine. I'll fix it before the next show. And I will. And I should because I can. Do you understand? For example, you wouldn't expect a 4-year-old to read at a 20-year-old's level. You would expect them to read the best that they possibly can read at their 4-year-old level. That's the most you expect out of them. But as they get older, you expect more. So I bring up the YouTuber example because a lot of YouTubers who find themselves not successful, it's because they don't ever go back and rewatch their own content and critique themselves and be like, ooh, that was way too loud. Let me turn that down next time. Or, oh, wow, that was way too quiet. Let me turn the volume up. You see? Like, there's lots of things that I've worked on over time to eliminate because I know how to eliminate them and I should strive for greatness. Okay? But that comes from the willingness and the ability to correct myself and take correction from you guys also. Oh, y'all check me all the time and I take it. Don't you see me take the corrections and make the corrections? I hope you do. I really do hope that you guys see as you give me feedback, you can see those little pieces of feedback reflected. I hope you can see that. It's so important to your success, guys. And it's also very important to your failure. If you can't take feedback, you're going to fail, guaranteed. A lot of small, you know how they say most small businesses fail within the first 5 years? And they try to make it seem like, oh, it's just because business is so hard and getting a customer base is hard, which it is. Those things are all true statements. But the number one reason small businesses fail is because they cannot take feedback. That's why they fail. They cannot take customer feedback. That's why they fail. When customers tell them, hey, sir or ma'am, XYZ, they go, oh, you're just hating. You just hating. You're a hater. Oh, you're a hater. Oh, you're just jealous. And they're like, well, no, I actually like your products. I want to continue to use them, but I feel like this one little thing would make all the difference. Oh, you're just entitled and greedy and you just want the whole world. And it's like, well, no. Oh, okay. And so then you stop doing business with them and go do business with somebody who will do that one little thing. Do you understand? Like somebody is going to come along and put Uber Eats, Grubhub, and DoorDash completely out of business. All three of them completely out of business. Somebody will. Somebody's going to design a system that covers all the gaps these companies refuse to fix. For example, I'm sorry, this is just a rant. I have to go off on a tangent, but I can't tell you how many times I've had an Uber Eats order and they tell me that the order has been received. Then they tell me they're making it. Then they tell me someone's on the way to get it. And then all of a sudden the order is canceled out of nowhere. And I've been sitting around waiting at home for an hour and a half, hungry and angry at this point. And the only thing I can think about are people who might be diabetics, right? Who are waiting on their food because they need it. And suddenly they don't get it. And there is absolutely no rectification for it other than a refund. Like, oh, well, here's your money back. It's like, well, I actually didn't want the money. I wanted my food. I wanted my food. I gave you my money so I could have my food. So I'm not diabetic, but I think about people like that. Like, what about the people who just got off of a shift at work? They place an order for food. They're hungry. They're tired. They don't have time to cook. And then suddenly you cancel their order. Folks are going to get enough of that. And somebody's going to come along and design an app where that just simply does not happen. If your food order was placed, you're getting your food, period. So that was a major rant and digression. The point is, eventually all three of them will go out of business because they refuse to take customer feedback and fix the problems. They are uncorrectable grab bags of sin. If you are uncorrectable in this life, unable to be corrected, you are sure to fail. I promise you, you're going to fail in this life. I promise you. Welcome to everybody in the chat. Hope you guys are doing great. So I actually found this really sad, you guys, like oddly sad. So I'm going to read it and we'll talk through why I feel like it's actually really, really sad and kind of tragic. So it says, this is page 73. There can be a state of soul against which love itself is powerless because it has hardened itself against love. Hell is essentially a state of being which we fashion for ourselves, a state of final separateness from God, which is the result not of God's repudiation of man, but man's repudiation of God, and a repudiation which is eternal precisely because it has become in itself immovable. The word repudiation means rejection. So if you wanted to read it again, it says, which is the result not of God's rejection of man, but man's rejection of God. And a rejection which is eternal because it has become immovable. So in other words, let me put it to you like this. There are some people you are dealing with that even God can't get through to. Let me say that one more time. There are some people you are dealing with that even God can't get through to. So if God can't get through to them, what are you going to do? You think you can? You think you're craftier, smarter, more strategic than God? There's people even the Most High God can't get through to. Excuse me. So, and I like the way you put that, a state of soul. So your soul can be in different states. And there is a state of the soul against which love itself is powerless because this person has hardened itself against love. Just like I said in the last live stream, some people simply do not respond to kindness. They don't, or reason or rationality or anything. And they've hardened themselves to such an extent that they've actually completely cut themselves off from God. God did not cut them off. They cut themselves off from God. I don't know the exact verse in the Bible, but it says something to the effect of, if you come to the door, I'll open it, or something like that. Or I'll knock, but you have to let me in kind of situation. If anyone knows that verse, it would be great to drop it in the chat for me, please. But that I finally understand what that means. Like, God is not going to force himself on you. You have to want it. You have to want to receive help. You have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to take that critique and have that exorcism. You have to be willing, because if you're not, even God can't help you. So it's not so much that it's not so much that God doesn't want to help narcissists. It's that they don't want his help. They don't want God's help. They've rejected God completely. They are God in their own mind. So there's nothing God can do with them. If somebody's in a river rapid and it looks like they're struggling, and you keep throwing them a life raft and they keep swatting it away. And you're like, come on, man, stop. Just grab the raft. Please grab it. And they're like, no, I can swim. It's like, you're not swimming. You look like you're drowning, actually. Please grab the raft. Please, come on, let us help. Let us pull you out, please. And they're like, no. And they push the raft away. You throw it back, and then they deflate it. They take a stick that they found in the river and they deflate the raft. Are you going to stand there all day throwing stuff at them, trying to get them to grab it? At some point, you just got to be like, all right, then. Well, it was cool knowing you. I liked you a lot. I'd pull you out right now if you wanted me to, but you don't want me to. So bye, friend. And it's tragic because you are basically watching someone destroy their own life. Now, it is not your responsibility to value someone else's life more than they value it themselves. However, it's still tragic, though. There's no harm in caring. There's no harm in being like, man, I wish they cared about themselves as much as I care about them. I wish they could see their own value as much as I see their value, you know? And it's very noble of you to try to help them. We're supposed to try to help each other, but don't become codependent sitting on the bank of the river all day long because this person refuses to receive your help to get pulled out of the river. Like the only way to get them out, assuming they hadn't drowned yet, is to call in a helicopter and basically accost them, like send down some ropes, or I don't know, however you catch a wild animal, same thing. However you catch a wild animal, you'd have to catch them the same way. That's the only way you'd be able to do it. And then what's to stop them from running right back to the same river and jumping right back in? You see, that's why you can't invest too much energy in people who don't want the help. Because if you do pull them out by force, they're just going to go back to that same river again and jump right back in, talking about they can swim. And you'll be right back out there again trying to rescue them. So it is honorable, and it's what we're supposed to do is love each other, but the person has to be willing to receive it. And if they're not, there's nothing you can do. So you can release that too. If there's somebody in your life that you lost, not necessarily like they're gone, like passed away, but they're just not in your life anymore, and you feel like you did something wrong or you should have done more, or all you can do is the best that you can. So if you made every effort, you made every attempt, you made it clear, and they rejected it in its entirety, you did the best that you can. You have to wash your hands of it and move on. Don't beat yourself up, because even God can't help these people. Even God. All right. So let's move on. All right. So now let's get into evil and scapegoating. This is on page 73. And this is where he really starts to get into appearances heavily, and how a narcissist or an evil person is primarily concerned with maintaining appearances, the appearance of perfection, the appearance of morality, the appearance of goodness and wholesomeness, the appearance of rightness. It's all a show, because preserving their image is actually more important than being those things. As long as you believe they are those things, that's all that actually matters. I had a story I was going to share, but it's kind of a long read. I might just do a separate video on it. And it's the story of a guy who was a hitman, a hired hitman, and he finally got caught. So he kind of just confessed and told his story. And part of what he said to the investigators was, hey guys, you got me, but if you do me a favor, please don't tell my family because they think I'm a great guy. And it just sent like shivers down my spine and like through my whole body. Like, he wasn't flippant. He wasn't aggressive and, you won't take me alive. He was like, yeah, guys, you got me. All right, you got me. Yep, it's me. I did that. But do me a favor. Can you do me a solid and just not tell my family because they think I'm a great guy? So that would be the perfect example of not having actual morality, having performative morality. He has his whole family snowed. Well, not anymore, obviously. But when they first caught him, he's like, I'm willing to be completely cooperative. I'll do whatever you need me to do. Just please don't tell my family because they think I'm a great guy. All right. So this is what that means. And in addition to that, they'll sacrifice anybody to preserve that image of self-protection or self-image of perfection. There's a really tragic story that came out in the news today. I'm actually not going to share it because it's just sad and tragic, but just know this: an individual harmed two people to keep his name perfect. That's all I'll say. And I know that's not fair to those of you who actually want to know what I'm talking about. But if you just comb the news, like if you have Apple News on your phone, you'll see the story eventually. This individual, it was a gentleman, harmed two women to keep a secret quiet. Well, no, I take that back. He harmed one woman because he believed she was cheating on him. And then he harmed the other woman because the other woman knew that he harmed the first woman. So the other woman knew that he harmed the first woman. And I guess she wasn't going to tell because she knew. But he became panicked and started thinking, well, what if she tells? What if she gets scared? What if she gets nervous and tells somebody? So to cover his tracks, he harmed her. And still got caught. Idiot. You see? So that's the furthest I'll go into that story because it's just kind of sad and actually really bothers me a lot that there's people out there who would harm someone completely innocent because you know something about them that they don't want anyone else to know. It's kind of scary to me. But evil is dangerous, is it not? Welcome to the chat. How are you guys doing? Well, not a gentleman, Ronald, but maybe a psychopath. But page 74, spiritual growth requires the acknowledgement of one's need to grow. If we cannot make that acknowledgement, we have no option except to attempt to eradicate the evidence of our imperfection. So this, again, is playing into the overall theme of the stream, which is in order for you to grow and improve and change as a person, you have to be willing to acknowledge what needs to be changed in the first place. You do. Or I'll give another example. I like using the easy examples because I feel like you can apply them to anything when the principle is very clear. But we talked about me and my cooking a couple shows ago. And I am imperfect in that area in terms of the consistency. Like I would really like to be somebody who cooks every day or every night, rather, whatever. But I have a very tough time pulling it off. So I've really spent a lot of time analyzing why that is. Like PCE, there's people who cook every day. So why do you have such a struggle doing it? What's the problem? Because you do know how to cook. Like I know the method of cooking. I know the method. I don't know the theory behind it. Is the problem. Oh, no. I know the practice. I don't know the theory behind it. So that's one issue. So if you give me the ingredients, you give me the recipe, I can cook it and it's going to be delicious. Absolutely delicious because I know what food is supposed to look like and taste like. But if you told me, walk into the store and buy enough ingredients to prepare something other than spaghetti and make it good and make it work, I cannot do that. It's not in my brain. So I said, wow, well, why isn't it though? Because you've eaten food your whole life. So how come you don't cook? Multiple reasons. One, so I usually don't know what I want to eat until I'm hungry. So that's the first reason. It's very hard for me to predict what I'm going to want to eat later on in the week. Very hard. When I've tried that in the past, I end up having food that rots because by the time it's time to use it, I don't want it. So that's issue number one. Issue number two is I don't really shop in terms of meal prep and meal planning. I shop in terms of this meal only, when really I should be thinking in terms of this meal and what else. You see, broaden the scope. Three, I wait until I'm hungry to start making food decisions. Okay. So all of these reasons combine into me not cooking every single night and ordering more often than I should, or just going out to go pick up something and bring it back. But what I'm recognizing, I'm acknowledging that imperfection. I'm acknowledging that I'm not strong in that area. I'm thinking through the reasons why. And every day I'm trying to put it in place to where I can finally get to where I can cook on a more regular basis. But if I weren't willing to introspect and be like, well, why is that, PTE? What do you think the reasons are? I'd never figure it out. And I'd just be a fast fooder delivery person for the rest of my life. And I don't want to be. Like, if I wanted to be, there'd be no problem. But I don't want to eat fast food or delivery every night for the rest of my life. I don't. I want to be better. So in order for me to be better in that area, I have to figure out exactly what's wrong. So again, a long example, a very basic example, but hopefully the principle is hopping out at you, okay? We have to acknowledge the imperfection in order to change it and grow, okay? I'm hungry now, talking about food. Let's move on to page 73. It says, evil is dangerous because, whoops. I did a double. I'm sorry. I accidentally put this in here twice, but it's true. Evil is dangerous because they're willing to sacrifice others to preserve their self-image of perfection. So they'll sacrifice you to make themselves look good. And that doesn't have to be literal. Quite often it's not literal, where they're sacrificing you in some meaningful way to make themselves look better, making you the scapegoat, projecting onto you, making it your fault, making everything your fault. Okay? To save themselves and save their image. And that's why their image is so easily shattered, because their image isn't real. If their image was built on reality, it would not be so easily shaken or shattered. But because their image is built on falsehoods and the destruction of others to maintain it, it's not rooted in anything. It has no foundation, which is why it falls apart so quickly. But when your image and your self-image is rooted in truth and reality, it's almost impossible to break it because you know what's true. So that's, again, another reason it's very hard to hurt some people's feelings, because they know what's true about themselves. Like, you can call me all kinds of different names, but if they're not true, they're just not true. You see what I mean? So why would I get upset over something that's not true? Call me whatever you want. It's not true. I know what's true. You can make assumptions about me all you want, but if you know what's true about yourself, there's really no need to get upset unless those assumptions are actually affecting your life. Like, they're making decisions based on those assumptions about you. But if they're not making decisions based on those assumptions, you can assume whatever you want. I know what's true. So I'm not easily shaken, you understand? Versus the person whose whole identity is based on lies. All right. So we're back to our theme of criminal negligence again. This is on page 75. It says, guiltless, they not only commit crimes, but may also do so with a kind of reckless abandon. We just did a whole live stream on this topic. the topic of criminal negligence, reckless abandon, how they appear to not have a mens rea or guilty mind. We talked about all of that. So this is all lining up. This is all perfectly aligned with the theories that we've been putting forth here on this channel and the things that we've discussed. They like when you hear about certain things or you consider the narcissist in your life, a question that probably comes to mind often is, how could they? How could they do that to me? How could they do that to them? How could they do that to that person? Well, number one, they don't feel any guilt. And in the absence of that guilt, they just do it with reckless abandon. Like, come what may. You know, I don't care what comes out of this. I don't care what manifests out of this. Oh, well, should have protected yourself against me. I did a tweet earlier today. If you're not following me on Twitter, you should follow me at Exist Permission. Now, this tweet was from last night. Let me find it really quick. The tweet says, Narc Logic 101. I don't have to protect you from me. You have to protect you from me. And if I hurt you, it's your fault for not protecting yourself. And that's how they feel. I don't have to protect you from me. You have to protect you from me. And if I hurt you, it's your fault for not protecting yourself. And the subtext of this is, oh, I do intend on hurting you. I intend on harming you in a meaningful way, but it's your job to prevent me from harming you. Oh, it's so sick, isn't it? Versus the person who actually has no intent to harm you at all. So they would never think something like this because they're not thinking this person needs to protect themselves from me because I'm not going to hurt them. But narc logic is, well, it's almost like saying, well, listen, you know, I'm a predator. So why would you let the tiger roam free around your house? No offense to the tigers. But why would you let the tiger roam free around your house? You know, I'm a tiger. You need to put me in a cage. Or yeah, I probably will maul you one day for fun or out of sheer boredom or whatever. But I'm a tiger. You know that. It's your job to protect you from me because you know what I am. That's their logic. Okay. Oh, let's keep going. It says conscious, Lord, conscious, I can't. Conscienceless psychopaths appear to be bothered or worried by very little, including their own criminality. So this takes me back to when we did our survey, and many people reported that their narcissists sleep very well at night, which I would have thought the opposite, but now it all makes sense. There's no conscience, so there's nothing keeping them up at night. I have a friend who takes Xanax, and she told me she takes Xanax primarily to turn the thoughts off in her head at night. So she's got so many going that the Xannies help her, I guess, shut the F up and go to bed. Versus your narc doesn't have anything going on at all. They sleep very, very, very well. They have no conscience. They're bothered and worried by very little. Water rolls off their back. This is why they're able to work really, degrading type of jobs. And what I mean by that is the job itself is not degrading. The way they treat their employees is degrading. That's what I mean. So basically a corporate cult. This is why they're able to function in corporate cults. It doesn't bother them at all. At all. Like, hey, Steve, we need to stay 3 hours over. We can't pay you overtime. All right, boss, no problem. Hey, Mary, we need you to use your personal vehicle to drive across country and deliver something and come back. And we can't compensate you for gas. Yeah, sure, no problem. Anything for the team. Like, they have no self-respect because in many ways they have no self. So in having no self, they have no conscience. And in having no conscience, they're not bothered by a lot of things. They're not bothered by hardly anything, really, including like temperature, which is a very weird thing I've noticed with narcissists. The narcs that I've identified in my life are not bothered by temperature extremes in any way. I've never seen them cold and I've never seen them hot. Never. Even if the rest of the room is sweating and melting down, they are fine. If the rest of the room is freezing, they are fine. Fine. Literally nothing bothers them. If there's a smell in the room, like the smell of exhaust or gasoline, they don't notice it until somebody says something. Like, does somebody smell gas? Like, oh, wow, yeah, I do smell gas. Like, it's autopilot. We talked about all of this. Okay. Not bothered by anything, which is why it's so easy to hurt you, which is why you can cry right in front of them and they don't feel anything. They're just looking at you like, what is it doing? Why is there water coming out of its eyeballs? Why is their face all wrinkled up like that? Are they yelling at? Oh, they're mad at me. Why are they mad at me? What did I do? I'm telling you, stay away from these people. Back to appearances. This is on page 75. It says, utterly dedicated to preserving their self-image of perfection, they are unceasingly engaged in the effort to maintain the appearance of moral purity. Which is why you so often hear about people who were like model citizens getting caught up in something just salacious and so scandalous and typically pretty perverted as well. And you're like, how could he? How could she? He or she is the pastor, the usher, the soccer mom, the fill in the blank. Because they probably spent their whole life trying to maintain an image of perfection. But you all who lived with some of them know what goes on behind closed doors, which is part of what makes it so sickening to you, because you know the truth and you can see how everybody else is potentially snowed around you, how this person has snowed them. You see? So let's move on. It says, while they seem to lack any motivation to be good, they intensely desire to appear good. Their goodness is all on a level of pretense. It is, in effect, a lie. This is why they are the people of the lie. In the South, there is a saying, shout out to my Southerners in the chat, where if somebody's talking to you and they're saying something that you don't believe to be true, in the South, they'll say, you a lie. You a lie. Oh, you a lie. And if you can't understand what I'm saying you a lie. Yes, I know it's not grammatically correct. We're in the South, okay? You a lie. And turns out, grammatically correct or not, it's a true statement. You are a lie. You are a lie. There's your grammar. You are a lie. In the South, we say, you a lie. But it's true. You are a lie. It's all pretense. It's all pomp and circumstance. It's all show. No realness. This is why I can't hang out with people who are very uncomfortable having real conversations. They're very uncomfortable with people sharing their true opinion about things. And I'm talking about amongst friends. I don't mean strangers. People are naturally kind of shy around strangers. I'm talking about, let's say you have a little friend circle. They take you to meet a different friend circle. And you're chit-chatting, you're just shooting from the hip like you always do. And you can see people getting uncomfortable in their seat. Oh no, is she going to talk about that? And then what they will typically do is try to neutralize your opinion. They'll say, well, I just think that's true for pretty much everybody. I mean, sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. I mean, sometimes that's true and sometimes it's false. I mean, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. Like they have to neutralize your opinion because the truth, that raw, uncut, it's not so much that it is true, it's that it's your truth. Does that make sense? So I might have an opinion about something that's not necessarily true, but it's what I believe and how I feel and what I think. But even that is too much. It's like, oh my God, this person is expressing honesty to me. They're being honest with me. And it's the honesty, it's like it has like a tangible nature to it that shoots through them like a silver bullet. So they have to neutralize it because it makes them so uncomfortable. And I think the reason is because they recognize if you're the type of person who pretty much tells the truth all the time, it won't be long before you tell the truth about something relating to them. And that could be on a subconscious level, meaning, she's not saying anything true regarding me right now. But if we let her keep this up, eventually she's going to start exorcising us on accident. I was going to do a video and I still might called, I think I accidentally exorcise people, or I exorcise narcs on accident. And I do. And this book gave me that revelation. The reason they have to shut me up, the reason they interrupt, overtalk, don't let me speak for me, talk over me, is because if I keep it up, something like permission to exist is going to be born. If I keep it up, eventually I'm going to tell the truth in regard to something related to them. And they'll have to face it because they'll be sitting right there in the room and have to hear it. So they don't like being around people who have no problem saying what's true for them. Because eventually you're going to exercise that demon by mistake. So they neutralize you on the spot and then work very hard to keep your voice under wraps so you don't go out here passing out exorcisms like cotton candy. Let's continue. Honey, they know what they're doing. It says the self-deceit would be unnecessary if the evil had no sense of right and wrong. Ooh, I thought that was powerful. In other words, the simple fact that you are lying to us, to yourself, is proof that you know what the truth is. Because you only lie when you know the truth. Unless you're just unaware. But then you're just uninformed, you're oblivious, you're ignorant. And in the good way, if ignorance can be a good way. Ignorant meaning not knowing. So if you believe something or you say something that's not true, but you really believe that it is, well, you're just uninformed or you're ignorant. But if you're actively lying, you're lying because you know what the truth is. The self-deceit would not be necessary if the evil had no sense of right and wrong. So you know what's wrong, you know what you're doing wrong, and you have to cover it up. The fact that you're trying to maintain an image means you know what the real image is. You know what the real picture looks like. So you're painting a different one. They're very aware people. Because they're lying. And to lie, you have to know the truth. Page 76. This is a given, but I put it in here anyway. It says, evil people feel themselves to be perfect. They think they're perfect. They think they're flawless and never do anything wrong. Never. They don't ever do anything wrong. Never. Completely innocent. They're perfect. They're perfect before God. They never do anything wrong, even though their life is a complete reflection of the opposite. It says, and this is our last slide for this particular episode, and we'll take a break and then go into after show. It says, we welcome evil by attempting to hide it from ourselves. Evil may be recognized by this very disguise. Okay? So the more we try to hide the bad parts of ourselves from ourselves, the more open you are to welcoming in those evil and demonic forces into your life, because you won't rebuke them. You won't kick them out. So they're looking around and they're like, ooh, we can go squat in her house. She doesn't kick anybody out. If you show up over there, she just lets you stay. So we're going to go squat over there and stay until she kicks us out. But by then there might be hundreds of us. But yeah, my friend went over there. My demonic friend passed by the other day. The door was cracked, went on in. She didn't kick him out. So I came over. She didn't kick me out either. So now me and all my demonic buddies live here because she refuses to even acknowledge our presence. We're like the elephants in the room. She just steps around us. You know, we cause all kinds of chaos and destruction in our life. And she just steps around it because she won't even look us in the face. Okay. So in closing on this particular stream, we're going to do an after show, but evil may be recognized by this very disguise. The simple fact that it's trying to hide itself is how you recognize it. And with that, you guys, we have wrapped episode 3 of People of the Live Review series. This one's theme was Mirror, Mirror. All right. So what we're going to do, everybody, is we are going to take ourselves a little commercial break. And when I come back from the commercial break, I am going to go through the comments that I can, and then we'll get out of here. Okay, what do you guys think? I'm telling you, this book just warmed right on up. It started off kind of a cold open, and it has just been a hit, just punch, punch, sucker punch, sucker punch, sucker punch after sucker punch. Heavy hitting material, heavy hitting. I'm so glad it was recommended. Thank you to the viewers that recommended it. Thank you to the viewer that actually bought it for me. And thank you to those of you who are interested in this content. I find it very interesting as well and very helpful as well. So with that, you guys, we are going to take ourselves a brief commercial break. Let me make sure my speaker is still on. There we go. All right. So let's take our commercial break, you guys, and I'll be back and we will continue on, okay? All right, friends, we are back. Welcome. Well, we've been here a while. I'm glad I broke this one up. I almost made it too, but I knew I was going to run my mouth a lot. So welcome, you guys. Welcome, welcome. So before we get started on the after show, I have a couple of announcements. Let's see. The first announcement. Shout out to mathematics. This is from the last live stream, or second to the last, regarding Bobby and his parents. Or no, it was the last one where I said Bobby was a millennial. Bobby was 15 in 1983, which definitely doesn't make him a millennial. It makes him a Gen Xer. And as one of my viewers noted, the Gen Xers are often ignored. So I apologize to you guys. I didn't even factor you into my mathematics. Okay. So definitely wanted to make that correction. Bobby is Gen X. So that may even put that in a different perspective for those of you listening who are Gen Xers. Bobby's experience. All right. The next announcement is, unfortunately, the live chat from the last live stream is gone. It's my fault, but it's also YouTube's fault because I edited out the beginning where I was like, oh gosh, can you guys hear me? You know, and it was just bumbly and stumbly and I didn't like it. So I edited it out and it took away the whole live chat. So it's gone, you guys. So if you've been looking for it or wondering where it is, it's gone. And I'm so sorry about that. Currently nothing I can do about it. So I do apologize. I'll never edit it again, no matter how horrible the intro is. I'll just leave it because you guys can fast forward. And finally, from that live stream, if you didn't catch it, we pulled another stream out of that all about criminal negligence because essentially Bobby's parents were criminally negligent. So if you're interested in that, I'll link it after the show is over in the description box. But you can go check it out. It's called Needs to Be Arrested on Narcissist Criminal Negligence. So that's the name of that stream, okay? 1 second, I'm going to turn my AC on because it's hot in here, man. All right. So let's go through a few of your comments and then we'll get out of here. Welcome, everybody. And thank you for coming. You feel me on the cooking thing, right? It's so hard, you guys. Like, I wish they had people. I know that this service exists, but not on a very wide scale. But I wish they had people that would just come to your house and just cook for you for the week. And again, I know that that happens. I know it's out there, but not on a very wide scale. It's like there's a couple of independent contractors who do it. But I need somebody to prop up a franchise where you hire a bunch of chefs. They go buy all the ingredients. They come to your house. They cook it for you. They store it for you. I would pay money for that. Money. I would pay significant money for that because I just can't do it. The logistics of it are too much for me. Thank you. The logistics of it are just a little bit too much for me. But I'm trying, though. I am working on it. So. Like, I've gotten really good at making chicken rigatoni Alfredo. Oh my God. With broccoli. Oh my God. Can't do it off the top of my head, but I've got a great recipe for it. It's so good. Let's see. A lot of you are similar to me in the way you cook. Yes. It says their self-image is just a big Macy's hot air balloon during a Thanksgiving parade. Exactly. Wow, what a perfect imagery. That's exactly what it is. Very easily deflated too. Right? Just going through your comments. I appreciate you guys. Mm-hmm. We do. So it says we do have to protect ourselves. So indeed, we do. So I was going to do a separate video on this, but I'll just do it right now. So the example I thought about was this. You're walking down the street, right? And you go to cross the street at a crosswalk. We'll just make it super legal. Super legal. Okay? Whose job is it to make sure you don't get hit by a car? Well, it's everybody's job. It's your job to make sure that before you cross the street, you look both ways, make sure that the cars have actually come to a complete stop, make sure there's nothing else going on. It's your job to make sure you're not down in your phone, distracted, not paying attention. But it is also the driver's job to make sure you don't get hit. It's their job to make sure they're looking up, following the rules of the road, trying to predict what people might do. Like if you've ever driven past like a crowd of people or a line of people walking, you probably slow down a little bit because you know that people have a tendency to just dart out. They love to dart. I don't know what it is. Human beings love to just dart out into the road. So you probably slow down just a little bit for those darters. So it's actually both people's responsibility not to get hit or to hit somebody. The responsibility belongs to both. The problem is narcissists don't think it's their job not to hit you. That's the problem. They don't believe it's their responsibility to pay attention to the road, pay attention to the speed limit, obey the traffic lights, give pedestrians the right of way. They don't think that's their job. They think it's your job entirely not to get hit. And if you step out here and get hit, oh well. So the responsibility is shared. It says tiger, more like a honey badger, right? Why did you let that honey badger loose in your house? Why? You knew what it was. Exactly. It says, like the snake in the snow story. Why did you bite me? I took care of you. Because I'm a snake. That's what I am. You see? Exactly like that. Okay. It says, I have a narc neighbor that's been knocking on my door and running away early in the morning. I just downloaded an app to my iPad and set it in the window. Instant surveillance camera. What does the app tell us? Because I was going to say you should get yourself a Ring camera. Get a Ring doorbell or one of those doorbell cameras. Yeah, and have them go knocking with the camera right there, because by the time you see the camera has seen you. Love it. By the time you even notice it, it's already seen you. Love it. Let's see. Oh, they hate solutions. It says, I can spot them at work once the drama starts. I talk about solutions because I know that's how they feed. In my experience, when you start talking solutions, they get aggravated and irritated because they don't actually want to solve anything. That's not the objective. The objective is to keep the drama going, not fix it. But I love that. You want to irritate a narcissist, start giving them solutions. Let's see here. Absolutely. They've completely taken command of it. It says narcs are demons in human body. They've completely taken over that particular human form. And whether or not the human is still in there, it remains to be seen. Remains. But I've heard stories of people on their deathbed. Apparently, the demons flee right before they die. And it's like they suddenly come clear, like, oh my God, I've been a horrible person my whole life. Yeah, you've had demons in you your whole life. They just left. Let's see. Which to me, now we're crossing over into a deeper PTE, but if that's true, if the demons flee right before you die, then does that mean then that they have the potential to get trapped in there with you? And then that must mean that there's something else after, because they don't want to be part of it. They don't want to be around when you go to whatever the after is, so they leave. I don't know. But I love thinking about that kind of stuff. I think it's interesting. I personally think we all are. It says they are hybrids between humans and fallen angels. I think we all are. And I think what happens is those of us who are willing to face our evil and uproot our weeds become more human, if that makes sense. And those who aren't turn into their fallen angel self, their demonic self. So I feel like we're all born with the potential to go either way. And the ones who don't become evil are the ones who can face themselves, face what they've done wrong, fix it, apologize for it, change it, and never do it again. Those who refuse to take those actions become your demons, which would explain why, as I've said before, like around age 19, they start to turn. It's weird. I don't know what it is about the 19th year, but I've seen several people cross over into their full demonic selves right around age 19. So it must take 19 years to germinate. Let's see what we have here. Excuse me. Yes, they hate to be alone. Because the thing about it is, when you're alone, for those of us who have an inner dialogue, you tend to meditate on true things. You don't tend to meditate on lies. So when you're alone and you're thinking about things, you're thinking about real things, things that have either happened, are happening, or are about to happen. Things that you're upset about that have already taken place, that might take place, things that are making you happy. It's not always bad. You're meditating on something that made you happy that really happened, that's about to happen. You're anticipating something that's about to happen. But my point is, everything you're thinking about is real, because your brain isn't going to sit around lying to itself on purpose. So the narc doesn't like to be alone because it's very hard to distract yourself when you're alone. Yeah, we have our TV, our internet, video games, whatever, but you're still there with your thoughts. So no, they don't like to be alone because those real, true thoughts start bubbling up to the surface. Reality starts to come out, and they don't like that. Let's see. Yep, that's why the smear campaigns start. The smear campaign is all about maintaining that perfect image, maintaining the image of innocence, always, at all times. Never do anything wrong. Never. Exactly. I'm telling you guys, it is so nice to know I'm not the only one. It says, I have the same problem. I'm never thinking about food on a long-term basis. If I don't want to eat now, it's not on my mind. Exactly. I think that's the number one problem affecting my ability to cook. I'm not thinking about it long-term. I don't think about food until I'm hungry. And that's such a bad strategy for someone who wants to provide more of their own meals for their self. For someone who doesn't care, it's fine, you know? But I just want to provide more meals for myself. And it's so hard for me to think that far down the road about food. And then on top of that, It's not just that, it's also that the food you buy has to stay fresh. So if I buy for the week, is all this food going to stay fresh all week while it's waiting to be cooked? Because thawing and I don't have a great relationship. Not into it. Because by the time I pulled you out of the freezer, I'm hungry now. And now I have to wait an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours for you to thaw. No, I'm calling somebody to come bring me food. That's why if you happen to be listening to this and you and I happen to end up dating in the future, if you love me, bring me food. Bring me food. If you love me, bring me food. I'm so serious. You don't have to go out and buy all these designer handbags, designer shoes. I mean, those are nice little touches. You can throw those in every now and then if you'd like to. But if you really love me, bring me food. And I will love you back. Let's see here. So in regard to what we were talking about earlier, the Southern phrase, you a lie. It says on the screen, it says, I say use a lie, a whole lie, and the truth ain't in you. Yes, they're a whole lie, and the truth ain't in them. Okay? I want one of my northern kind of puritanical viewers who really speaks proper English. I want you to drop that on your narcissist this week. Okay? I'm talking about people who put every punctuation in place, every word is articulated. I want you to hit your narcissist with that this week for me. Do it for me. They're going to sit there, they're going to be lying, and I want you to just look at them and go, you a lie. And they'll probably go, who have you been talking to? You don't speak that way, Margaret. Who have you been talking to? Say, I'm talking to you, lie. You a lie. All right, let's keep going. Let's see. People of the lie equals illegitimate progeny of Satan. We are in enmity with them. Yes, we are. All day, every day. Which is why, for the people who always say, why don't you guys just get off this topic? Just don't deal with these people. Leave them alone. Don't think about them. You know, they're always thinking about us. That's the problem. We would love to just go no contact and not have any dealings with them. The problem is they're always working. They work 24/7 and we like to take time off. Because remember, they're very persistent, they're tireless, nothing really bothers them. So they have nothing but free time and energy to harass you. And you're over here taking breaks. You're like, well, I fought demons for 8 hours today. I think I've earned my rest. But they're still working. They work constantly. So we have to work constantly to battle them, lest they propagate and take over, as we have seen. Right. It says, never seen a narc happy or sad, just that faceless expression 24/7, that flat affect. Did a video on that too. I'm going to have a lot of videos to link after this is over. Says, I'm a Southerner. I've heard you a lie many times there. I'm ruining my subs, my pure little subs who are so sweet and have used nothing but perfect English their whole lives. I'm ruining them. I'm corrupting you guys. God, I want y'all to say that to one of them. You're like, Brad, you a lie. It's going to go, Stacy, you don't speak that way. You weren't raised to speak that way. Who have you been talking to? Just so offended by your improper English. Get out of here. You're a criminally negligent psychopath. Get out of here talking about broken English. Hey, AL, how's it going? Says PTE ain't never lied about that one. How's it going? How are you doing? Let's see here. Says miserable dry face. Miserable dry face because they are always miserable and paranoid of getting caught. Exactly. I'm using that. Miserable dry face. You need to moisturize that miserable dry face. Oh my God. And look at the picture. Look at my look at the thumbnail, you guys. Look at this. It's a miserable, empty, blank, dry face. Well, I should close it out on that. I mean, when things are synchronous like that, really you should just close it. Just call it an end. Miserable, dry face, half of a person with a blank stare. I mean, could it be any more perfect? I'm going to take a few more comments, then we'll get out of here. Yes, they love to neutralize your opinion. It's like, ooh, 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 you're having an opinion. Oh, no, 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 stop, please. Please don't pick a side. Oh, please don't have a position. Please don't. Please come back to the middle. Please come back to the middle. Please don't have an actual position. Damn it, she has a position. Now I gotta go neutralize it. Absolutely. It says honest and direct communication is labeled toxic or negative. Absolutely, every time. Every time. Let's see here. Excuse me. Says, oh, I exercise narcs all the time. They will manifest. Absolutely. I feel like I exercise them by walking into a room sometimes. I'm telling you guys, like, it's bizarre. I'm not going to lie to you. It's very bizarre. But I feel like sometimes just entering the room, I exercise them. I do. I think I have a very clearing energy. Like anything demonic nearby is going to clear out soon. It's going to leave. They can't stand to be around me. Can't stand it. And somebody left a great comment that I will be doing a video on called Narcissists Are Revolted by You Too. And they are, for that very reason. For one of those very reasons, but one of the main reasons is because they know if they spend too much time around you, eventually you're going to exercise them, be it on purpose or on accident. So they're revolted by you as well. I will be doing a video on that. Exactly. This is why they don't like people like us. Exactly. Because the thing about it is, you could just be talking. I'll give you a perfect story. One day, I can't say who these people were just to protect their identities, but I was with a couple of people. And one of the people asked me why I wasn't married yet. And so I started to answer their question. I said, well, one of the reasons I find is that my generation of men, the millennials, not all of them, I would never say all, because there are some amazing millennials. I said, but a lot of them really gave up on education. I was like, they figured after college or after high school, they were just done and they haven't pursued their education any further. And this person like started to kind of rip my head off. And they were like, education isn't everything. Education doesn't make a man. A man isn't based on a degree or anything like that. A man is made out of this and out of that. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't saying that you're a bad person. I said, it appears a lot of them gave up on education, is what I said. In other words, they weren't lifelong learners. Once they were done, they were done. And I want to be with a man who is a lifelong learner. But hearing me say that, oh, it made them hot because they never pursued their higher education. They finished high school and that was it. And I don't know, but I think it has bothered this person their whole lives, basically, that they never went any further. So when I said that, I did not say it to exercise that fact out. You asked me why I wasn't married. Well, let me answer your question. Number one, a lot of men seem to have given up on higher education or education, period. They just don't like to learn anymore. And I'm not talking about all men. I'm talking about the men I've met in regard to the men I would have dated. And that one statement caused this person to hop right up out of their skin and rip my head off. That doesn't make a man. That's not all that a man is. What about this? And what about that? And what I'm like, bro, you asked me, you pried and asked me why I wasn't married. So I'm answering your question. And you're furious with me now. My bad. I didn't mean to have an exorcism in the car. Okay. Oh, yeah. Any truth, really. It says, and that truth scares the hell out of them. You literally see their world shatter in that blank, shocked face. Yes, you do. You most certainly do. Hmm. Absolutely. They'll lie to themselves, so they'll lie to anybody. Exactly. If you can actively and successfully lie to yourself on a regular basis, lying to other people becomes nothing. It becomes second nature. It's very easy. It says they're evil. Evil always lies. Evil does the opposite of whatever is good. Absolutely. It's against life, which, wow, okay, yeah, live, evil, reversed. Hmm. It's probably not an accident. They're against life. So, to go really deep down the rabbit hole, it's my understanding that the word Christ means life. Okay. So, if the word Christ means life, the Antichrist is against life itself. So, everyone is looking, well, in regard to the Antichrist, which I don't necessarily think is going to be an individual person because we know that the Bible uses symbolism a lot. But if Christ means life, the Antichrist would mean anti-life or against life. So what we're actually looking for is a state or a situation or maybe a person who is 100% against the principles of life itself. And no, I don't just mean birth. You simpletons. God, some of you are simple. Oh, then what about abortion? Abortion. Baby, what about the life after the child has been born? Life is not just about birth. Life also includes everything that happens after birth until you die. They forget about that part. Abortion, the baby's abortion. Yes, abortion is tragic, but what about the life that comes after? You just don't care about that, do you? Oh, so you might actually be against life. You're pro-birth. You're not pro-life. You are pro-birth. And you're probably pro-birth because you need a lot of supply. But let me roll it back because I'm not trying to step on any toes or piss anybody off again for two for two videos in a row. I'm not trying to piss people off for two videos in a row. My point is, if you're going to be pro-life, you have to be pro-life all the way, meaning from birth to death. Meaning life should be supported, life should be healthy, life should be happy, prosperous. We shouldn't tolerate things that subtract life from people. Anything that subtracts life in any way should be done away with. That's true pro-life. But the people who call themselves pro-lifers are really just pro-birthers. That's it. So let me continue before I lose the rest of my audience. Let's see here. Father of lies, absolutely. That's what it means. I feel like when you think about evil in the context of how we've been discussing it, and then go back and think about the Bible makes so much more sense. Because at first, especially as a child, you don't really have a concept of evil. You know there's bad and bad people, and that people do bad things, but you don't really have a concept of it until you become an adult. Well, then I take that back because some children had really bad childhoods. So they already know what evil is at a very young age. But for those of us who really didn't have a bad childhood, you don't really figure out what evil is until later. All right, let me see where I was. It stole my thread from me. Let's see. Gen X represent. Hey, Gen X. Sorry, I didn't mean to leave you guys out. Poor Gen X. Wedged between two narcissistic psychopathic groups. Let's see here. How do you forgive these people? For a long time, I wouldn't have been able to answer that question for you, but the book itself actually offered up a pretty good answer. Oh, wow. I'm already on that page too. It's on page 71. It says, since God forgives us, to fail to forgive ourselves is to hold ourselves higher than God, thereby indulging in the sin of a perverted form of pride. So this was in relation to yourself, but I feel like this could be applied to other people as well. It's just the simple concept of if God would or could or has forgiven them, then who are you to hold a grudge after God has said it's all good? That's all I got for you. I've struggled with this for a long time. I don't really know how to forgive. I only know how to forget. And I think part of that is anyone who's ever put me in that situation has never really been sorry. They've never said, I'm sorry. They've never apologized for it. They've never even been able to articulate what was wrong. So going back to the college ex, boy, you inspired so much content. Do you know that? Going back to the college ex, as we were nearing the end of our relationship, I used to say to him, I can't be with you because you can't even articulate to me why I'm upset. And his answer would typically be along the lines of, oh, you're a woman. Women are always upset. So he was a misogynist as well. And I'd be like, but I've told you though, I've written it down. I've said it out loud. So how come you can't even give me a summary? He's like, because you're just, what was the word he used to say all the time? Drama. He's like, because you're just being dramatic. And I'm like, but I'm not. I'm actually telling you how I feel. I'm using words to tell you how I feel. That's not drama. And the fact that you won't acknowledge it is what's making it drama. That's what's causing the drama, not the words themselves. I was like, you don't even want to argue against any of the points? He's like, no, because you're just being drama. I'm like, okay. And event we broke up shortly after that because I'm like, I'm not going to spend my life with a person who thinks I don't have any real concerns, who thinks all of my issues are invalid and drama. So, nothing she ever says other than anything positive is something I need to pay attention to. I wasn't going to spend my life like that. And I didn't. So I pity his wife. Poor girl. I saw a couple pictures of her and I was like, she looks so sweet. He's going to take so much advantage of this poor child. She's probably already learning. I feel sorry for her, but thank you for taking him off my hands, sis. No, I don't have to deal with it. Oh, God. Oh, the app is called Alfred. So, oh no, Ring doesn't require a peephole. No, ma'am. There are some Ring cameras that require peepholes, but the new ones, you can either mount them with nails or you can just use double-sided tape and just slap them right up there. Got your Ring. But the app that we were talking about earlier is called Alfred, you guys. Let's see here. Ah, interesting. So in regard to the question of why do the demons flee when you're about to die, Ronald says maybe they get out to grab another host. They already tore you apart. So maybe that's no fun. Maybe hanging out with a dead person is no fun. They like to be among the living, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to look into that. I wonder if there's any content out there on that. I wonder where I heard that from. I can't even remember where I heard it. I think so. It says, is it possible that the demon needs supply? And when they are alone, the demon panics and makes the human search for other people? I think so, yes. This is what I think drives a lot of cheaters, male or female, is suddenly they find themselves without their main supply. So they have to fortify it. They have to fill it back up quickly. And they don't have the patience or the executive functioning. AL, shout out. They don't have the patience or the executive functioning to just wait till they see their partner again. So they go cheat. They need that supply constantly. So when they say they didn't love that person, they really mean it. They were just using that person to fill their supply temporarily. And to me, that's still grounds to break up or divorce. Like, wow, you're so thirsty. You are so thirsty that when I'm gone for 6 hours, you're on the internet, texting, sexting, you on different websites, you're on OnlyFans, you're on all over the place trying to get your little supply because I left for 6 hours. But I don't love them. I don't love those girls. I love you. Not good enough. Sorry. Because that means you're thirsty. You're a thirst pocket. You're a thirst bucket. I'm not going to marry a thirst bucket who is so insatiable that if I leave for 6 seconds, he has to go fill it up somewhere else. No, thanks. Need somebody with higher executive functioning than that. Ooh, yep. It says even demons can't go against your will. A person has had to give in several times for it to get a foothold. Exactly. Yeah, I'm not thawing. I can't. I cannot. I'm sorry. I can't get into it. Like, I admire you cooks out there. Oh my God. I admire you guys. The way you think about food, the fact that you'll pull out chicken and put it in the fridge to thaw overnight so you can cook the next day. That's next level, baby. That's thinking like 3, 4, 5 steps down the road. I am so trying to get there to where I already have my chicken. It's in the freezer. Pull it out, put it in the fridge to let it thaw overnight to cook the next day. I'm trying to get on your level. But as of right now, I'm not thawing this little cold, hard bird. It's going in the trash, and I'm going to call somebody to bring me some food. I'm hungry. Yes. Ronald, yes, I would like some of your pizza. I'm about to get off of here because I'm actually really hungry. I've made myself hungry with all this food chatter. If you love me, you'll bring me food. You know it is the thing to do. If you love me, you'll bring me food. And I will always love you too. All right, let's see here. I think we're about wrapping it up, you guys. Y'all were cracking up at one point. I wonder what y'all were laughing at. Let's see. Oh, is this what y'all are laughing at? Use a lie or use a damn lie. Y'all are going to get my good babies in trouble. You're going to have them clutching their grandmother's pearl. That's improper grammar. You a lie. It's proper grammar. Now, as I was saying, oh boy. All right, you guys. I think we've had a lot of fun on this stream. I've had a lot of fun with you guys tonight. I thought the content was pretty good, and this after show has been a lot of fun also. Right. Sorry. I pulled right back in. Says they're pro babies until they grow and have a separate opinion. Exactly. Now you're no longer worthy of even life itself. Oh, hold on. I just saw a good one. Where'd it go? Come back. Where'd it go? Where'd you go? Here it is. Oh, you were continuing a thought. Where's the first thought? Oh, here it is. Okay. It says, I'm with you. I had a similar conversation today. I think it was on your channel. Someone said they believe that narcissists were the culmination of the 7 deadly sins in one person. Oh, I might have to do a video on that. Are narcissists the embodiment of the 7 deadly sins? Oh, I might have to do a video on that. And then it says, continued, Revelation 13, the beast that arises has 7 heads. I'm looking at that as a way of thinking. The 7 deadly sins fits perfectly into that beast of Revelations 13. It looks a lot like the narc problem. Ooh, you might be onto something. Ooh, oh man, wow. Well, great. Now I'm going to be up all night long researching this stuff. Thanks a lot, Fatima. I'm just kidding, just so you know, if you can't hear it in my voice. All right, let's see here. All right, let me grab one more and then we'll get out of here, okay? Find one. Thirst pockets. Let's see here. All right. I think we're good. I think we have actually really covered it fairly well. I try to close on a comment, but they're all so good. So I think we will just go ahead and wrap it up, you guys. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for those of you who don't hate me after my last video. Thank you for those of you who let me speak freely, who let me speak from the heart. We don't always agree on everything, but I appreciate that we can share and exchange ideas that may not be similar and might actually be completely divergent. And you're not disrespectful and I'm not disrespectful. I appreciate you so much. I really do. And I appreciate those of you who disagree completely and still come because you just have an open mind and just want to hear something that might stimulate your thoughts. I respect you for that. So thank you guys. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. And with that, I hope you have a great rest of the week. We will be back next time picking up on page 77, and we'll finally be talking about narcissism and will, okay? And that will close us out of chapter 2 finally. And then after that, we'll go on to chapter 3. So with that, you guys, have a great evening. I'm going to leave the chat open just a few minutes for you guys to wrap up your conversations, and we'll get out of here, okay? Take care. Bye.